Okay, so remember Jurassic Park? That whole bringing dinosaurs back to life thing, it really got everyone thinking.
Yeah, pure sci-fi.
Well, get this. Something's happening right now that almost feels like that, but it's not dinosaurs. We're talking about creatures that were alive much more recently.
You mean what Colossal Biosciences is claiming?
Hmm.
That they've essentially brought back the dire wolf? I mean, that's definitely making
For
headlines.
sure. That Time magazine cover with the white wolf and that bold headline about the direwolf's return, it definitely caught my eye.
Oh yeah, it's a powerful image. Hard to miss.
It made me think. Made me want to dig deeper. So we did. We've got news articles from CNN and the BBC, information straight from Colossal Biosciences website, and even a video analysis by a science communicator on YouTube.
Kind of a 360-degree look.
Yeah, that's the goal of this deep dive. We want to explore this announcement from Colossal, really get into the science behind it, you know?
See what the experts are saying. It's an incredible claim.
Yeah, it is. Colossal Biosciences is saying they've created 3 dire wolf pups. They even gave them names. Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi.
Sounds like something straight out of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, it does. But here's the thing. They used ancient DNA and this really advanced gene editing on gray wolves to do it.
It's fascinating stuff. They're talking about DNA extracted from fossils that are like tens of thousands of years old, up to 72,000 years.
Wow.
And they compared that ancient DNA to canids we have around today. And you know what's really interesting?
Uh-huh.
Dire wolves and gray wolves share a huge percentage of their DNA, like 99.5%.
99.5. That's almost identical.
Right.
But I guess there must be something important in that tiny bit that's different, huh?
Exactly. Think about it. Humans and chimpanzees, we share something like 98% of our DNA.
Really?
Yeah. But look at the differences between us. They're huge.
Right.
So in the canine world, that 0.5% difference could mean variations in size, bone structure, even things like fur type and behavior, things that might be tough to completely recreate.
So how did Colossal try to make that happen?
Well, they've talked about making around 20 edits to 14 genes in gray wolf cells.
Oh.
They use cloning technology, taking the nucleus, which is basically the control center of a cell, out of a gray wolf cell, and replacing it with a nucleus from one of their edited cells.
It's like tricking the cell.
Yeah, kind of. It tricks the cell into developing as if it were a newly fertilized egg. And now it carries those genetic changes that they made.
So they got these wolf pups from that.
They did. 2 male pups born in October 2024 and a female pup in January of this year, 2025. It's pretty remarkable.
It is. And they're living at this secure facility, 2,000 acres, with zoo-grade fencing, they're calling it. They're definitely being careful.
Absolutely. And you know what Colossal is really emphasizing? They say they've brought back the functional essence and the physical appearance. The phenotype is what scientists call it.
Ah, okay.
Of the dire wolf. They're calling these pups functional copies.
Functional copy.
Yeah, and Beth Shapiro, their chief science officer, she's pointed out that the way we classify animals is really just a human construct.
Makes sense.
And their success, she says, is in recreating those key visual differences that people associate with dire wolves.
Right, so things like that larger, more robust skull, that thicker coat of light fur, and that powerful jaw they're talking about, right?
Exactly. Compared to your typical gray wolf, yeah.
And they're connecting it to the dire wolves in Game of Thrones. Smart marketing.
Definitely grabs attention. And if we think about their broader goals, this isn't just about dire wolves for Colossal. They've also said they want to bring back the woolly mammoth,
Really?
the dodo, even the Tasmanian tiger. And they're really hopeful that all the tech they're developing here could help conserve endangered species too. They're already working on cloned red wolves.
So Colossal's making these huge claims, and they've got these big plans for the future. But what do other scientists think about all this? Are they convinced?
That's where things get really interesting, because there are some experts who aren't so sure these are actually resurrected direwolves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, experts like Philip Seddon, who's a zoologist, and Dr. Nick Rollins, a paleogeneticist at the University of Otago, they voice some pretty strong counterarguments.
What kind of counterarguments?
Their main point is that these pups are essentially genetically modified gray wolves, not a true return of the extinct direwolf.
Okay, so they're saying Colossal hasn't actually brought back the direwolf.
That's what they're arguing, yeah.
And it comes down to the challenges of working with ancient DNA, right? It's not like finding a perfect strand of DNA like they do in the movies.
Exactly. Dr. Rollins even described it like this. He said ancient DNA is like fresh DNA that's been left in a really hot oven for a long time.
Oh, wow.
So it's broken up into many small pieces. Direct cloning with intact direwolf DNA is impossible.
So Colossal had to try something else.
Right? They used what's called synthetic biology. They identified specific segments of genes from that ancient direwolf DNA and used those as a blueprint to actually edit the corresponding genes in a living gray wolf.
Ah, so they kind of mixed and matched.
Yeah, you can say that. So in these experts' view, what Colossal created is a hybrid, a gray wolf base with some tweaks to make it look a bit more like a direwolf, maybe give that bigger skull and the white fur.
I see. They also pointed out how long ago dire wolves and gray wolves diverged evolutionarily. Millions of years.
Yeah, millions. And they're even classified in different genus. That's a pretty big difference.
For sure. I was also watching a video by a science communicator on YouTube, and they were saying that what Colossal made might be more accurately called a new synthetic species.
Interesting.
Something that's related to gray wolves, but intentionally modified with some dire wolf traits. It's not truly de-extinct, and that made me think about how we even define that word, de-extinction.
Yeah, it's a complex question. And you know what else the experts brought up? A really crucial question. Why does this even matter? They're worried that all this excitement about de-extinction might actually downplay how serious extinction really is.
I can see that.
And potentially take away from the focus on conservation for species that are still alive.
Like if we think we can just bring back anything we lose,
Well,
we might not be as motivated to protect what we have now.
it's a valid concern, especially among conservationists.
Yeah.
Extinction is permanent.
Absolutely.
And there's a real risk that the whole de-extinction narrative could undermine all the work being done to prevent more extinctions.
Let's talk about the science Colossal is actually using. They give more details on their website. They talk about sequencing the genomes of both the direwolf and the gray wolf, and they say they were able to recover significantly more direwolf DNA than anyone had before.
It's true. The progress in ancient DNA sequencing is incredible. Colossal is saying they recovered over 500 times more genetic information than in past studies. They use this special software, a platform called FormBio, to align these two genomes and really pinpoint the differences between them.
So they could focus on finding the genes that actually make a direwolf different.
Exactly. Things like size, smell, even parts of the immune system. They even mentioned the L-core gene, which is known to be really important for body size in lots of mammals, dogs included.
So they're not just changing things randomly.
Right, it's very targeted.
Yeah.
Then comes the really advanced stuff. They used CRISPR and something they called multiplex gene editing to make lots of changes to those gray wolf genes all at once.
That sounds so complicated.
It's cutting edge. Multiplex CRISPR allows scientists to edit genes in many places at the same time.
Goes much faster.
Way faster. After they edited the genes, they used somatic cell nuclear transfer, SCNT, for cloning, which is the same method that was used to clone Dolly the sheep.
Oh, right.
And as we said, they used domestic dogs as surrogates to carry the developing embryos.
Makes sense. I read that Colossal also developed a new way to get cells for cloning, a less invasive way.
Oh, you mean those endothelial progenitor cells? EPCs?
Yeah, those. They can get them from a blood draw. No need for a tissue sample. They're saying this could be huge for conserving endangered species.
You're right, that is a big deal. The science communicator we mentioned earlier was really impressed with the technology here.
So even if there's debate about these dire wolves, the science Colossal's using is pretty groundbreaking on its own.
Absolutely. It's a big jump forward in how we analyze ancient DNA and manipulate genomes. These advances could change how we understand extinct animals and how we approach conservation.
So it sounds like while there's this debate about whether these are truly dire wolves, Colossal Biosciences has accomplished something amazing by creating these animals that have direwolf genes.
Right, and they do show some of those physical characteristics.
But most experts seem to think calling them de-extinct is going too far. They're more like genetically modified gray wolves or maybe a new hybrid.
It's important to keep that distinction in mind. And we can't forget the incredible progress we've seen in ancient DNA analysis, gene editing, and cloning. These things hold huge promise for conservation efforts with species that are still with us today.
That's a great point. It makes you think, what does bringing back an extinct species really mean? Is it about a perfect genetic replica or creating something that fills the same role, or is it something else altogether?
And as we get better at manipulating life on this level, what does that mean for how we view life itself and our part in shaping it?
That's a big question.
It is. It really
So
is.
much to think about.
It's a fascinating area to explore. We hope this has given you a lot to think about.